What is this? A dove? No. A clitoris. Oh, and it's also not a little dragon, and it's also not a coat hanger. This is the clitoris in its full beauty. And this is actually the original sign I used in 2019 as a member of parliament, giving a speech about this sexual organ, because it was the speech about the importance of sex education in Austrian schools. Back then, I decided a quite different approach. I could have just approached my fellow members of parliament, disagreeing with them about needing experts in schools, which we need, and just telling that to them and going into like an outrageous debate. What I did instead was I decided to invite them on a journey to explore the female sexual organ, the clitoris. And oh boy, the reactions, nervous laughter, something I could hear also in this room a little, tension in the room, shouting in my direction. I felt like a room full of teenagers in front of me. And to be super honest, for me, it was kind of, if this is my comfort zone, I had to step out of it as well. Because talking about this topic in front of politicians and actually giving a sex education lesson in parliament was quite a stretch for my comfort zone as well. And at the same time, my opposite, my fellow MPs, they didn't leave the room. They listened. They had some icky reactions, but we both stayed in the room, so it was this beautiful sweet spot, I call it. Actually, what happened there was, I call it the matter moment. It was quite a pivotal moment for me and for many others, because this matter moment was recorded and actually spread, like a few million people saw it. And furthermore, I had a lot of parents contacting me that they were inspired to share this talk with their children and have really important conversations. And furthermore, I had also actually sexual abuse victims contacting me and talking about how they were not educated. And projects working with this topic were able to use this in their presentations and pitch decks. So talking about a matter moment, it's actually comparable with the sweet spot in sports. You know, like in sports, if you have a racket and you have a ball, and then you hit the ball in the perfect momentum and timing, maximum momentum is created. So if you hit the sweet spot. But how can you create a maximum matter momentum? What I've learned is that number one is you need to care. You need to care deeply about something, and then your curiosity will lead you, and you will act. Number two, courage. Stepping outside of your comfort zone and staying there. Staying in the discomfort and being present. Number three, invite. The same that happened in Parliament and in other moments in my life, in these matter moments, inviting others in, and both being in this moment of discomfort, there's a lot of beauty and a lot of change and a lot of things happening. Talking about another matter moment in my life. 2016, the so-called refugee crisis. A couple of friends and myself, we decided we really care about newcomers coming into a country and them wanting to integrate. What is important? For example, having a job. It's a lot easier to integrate if you have a job to integrate in society. So our reaction was to start one of the first job fairs for refugees in Austria, and we invited more than 3,000 refugees, newcomers, to join this event, and nearly 100 companies from all over the country. So we organized it, the day happened. So you can imagine about 1,000 people at the museum's quarter in a line waiting to come in. On the other hand, we had people representing companies, their future, hopefully, employees, waiting inside. And the interesting thing was they were both outside their comfort zone. Why? Refugees, on the one hand, they have never been at a job fair. A lot of them came from countries where job fairs were not a thing. And the labor market in Austria was for them kind of something really new. And then we had company representatives who didn't really know how to handle this new target group. So you can imagine this line of 1,000 people entering this big museums quarter building. Again, awkward silence, weird tension. My stomach dropped. What happened then was, walkie-talkie, I got our 100 volunteers to actually walk into the room, take them, accompany our newcomers to the stalls, and what happened then was a true meta moment, because connections happened, conversations happened, all out of their comfort zone, but a few hundred jobs as well. So this is kind of also a practical way how meta moments can happen, and which was really a profound moment in my life. But you don't need to be a member of parliament. And you also don't need to organize events and things like that. I had the most profound experiences when it comes to exiting my comfort zone and going into the space of unknown, being in discomfort and at the same time sharpening my instincts while on my hitchhiking adventures in my 20s. So going back to my 19-year-old me, I approached this adventure from Barcelona to Vienna. And on this trip, I had €7 in my pocket and 7 days to go. In these 7 days, my 19-year-old brain, because going into the unknown, and by the way, if you hitchhike, do it during daylight, best with another person, and trust your instinct. That's really important. So going back to the moment of why I hitchhiked and what it did with me back then, what happens is when you enter the car or the vehicle of someone else you don't know, you are in the comfort zone of someone else. But actually, my opposite is in discomfort because she or him, they don't know me. So in this kind of moment of discomfort, there is a lot of beauty and a lot of possibility to be trusted, to explore the unknown. And to give you an example, one of my first rides were Gérard and Birgit, just outside of Nice. And they have never taken someone. So for them, they were super nervous. But they were committed to take me, and then they were like, okay, what to do now? And for me, sure, it was also kind of exiting my comfort zone. But the next 2 hours, beautiful. My 19-year-old brain again, because we dove into this conversation about life, about loss, about what it means to go into pension, future perspective, and then me as a 19-year-old sharing my perspective on things. And 2 hours later, they invited me to join them at their place and stay with them for 2 days. So out of this interaction, this really beautiful, lifelong companionship happened. So this means a meta moment can happen in every conversation, in every interaction. And the most beautiful thing about it is there are so many amazing allies on the way. And the most amazing ally, myself. And maybe some of you have experienced it before, I guess so. If you enter a moment like that, your heart is racing, your body is reacting to the moment. And when your heart is racing, I learned in the last years that my heart is not only racing out of several reasons, but my heart is applauding the courageous act I'm just going into. My heart is on my team. So I invite you to listen to your heart, applauding you before you're going to step the next time into a moment that matters, into a matter moment, and watch the momentum unfolding in front of you towards positive change. Thank you very much.